Om Shri Ganeshaya Namo Namah. Greetings to everyone world over, all our brothers and sisters across the globe, those are joining us for this program. We extend you a very warm welcome on Sunday, 18th of December at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. It's indeed a great pleasure because every week we all come. There are lots of deliberations, celebrations, and we have got a lot of question answer session. And there's a lot of curiosity, creativity, which is coming through this particular series. Now, I wish to share with the global audience today, while we are wishing you green morning, green afternoon, and green evening, that Chamber is going to focus now on where the Honorable Prime Minister of India on 15th August 2022 from the Red Fort, when he made a mention कि अब भारत अमृत काल में जा रहा है और अगले 25 साल के बाद when India would be celebrating 100 years of India's independence, what would be the scenario, how India would look like. So as our chamber is dedicated to service industry, we have started preparing the vision document from our chamber, that means India's service industry in 2047. And of course, as we have discussed earlier on various platforms, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India is focusing on 12 champion sectors out of 54 different segments of service industry. So we would also be proceeding with that and we would be working on that. And today we are taking one of the agenda, which is there in those 12 champion sectors. We extend a very warm welcome to CA Surya Vijay Sastri Kotamarti ji, the CEO Kotamarti Group from Canada, who is with us. He is a great visionary and all the time, lots of deliberation, wonderful inputs come from his side. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Chamber for the last 28 years, a link between India and our brothers and sisters across the globe in different countries, and that's the Indian diaspora. Now, the exact strength is about 32 million. And at the same time, leading corporate, the sector in India and nearby countries. And of course, the government interface, because lots of plans, lot of strategies, lot of action plans, lot of concept papers we keep developing from time to time. Our basic focus is strategies, developing strategies, innovative strategies for services exports from India, how to give boost to that. And of course, we have been focusing on education, skills, wellness, entertainment. And at the same time, Chamber is also focusing on capacity building of the teachers, because the world over Indian teachers are needed. And services export has got various verticals. There are 4 modes of services exports. And one of the mode is you can be in India, but at the same time, you can render your services digital way and you can make use of the IoT and ICT and you can give your services abroad. So teachers, you are needed world over. You've got a great opportunities in the future world over. Population is aging. World over, teachers are needed. Innovative teachers, creative teachers, dynamic teachers, futuristic teachers, vibrant teachers. And our chamber is focusing on that. And we would love to support you and help you. So, whatever your mind can conceive and believe it can achieve, we all have to come together. And I'm pretty sure those of us, those who have subscribed this YouTube channel, we are proud of you, ICSI India. It's your channel. You can take it forward. You can move forward. And we have got 1,756 webinars till date. Also, in the second week of January, we are going to have our annual convention. That's on 13th, 14th, and 15th of January. And we extend a very warm welcome to all of you. It's going to be online and it's going to be North India Pravasi Divas. You will have lots of deliberations on Indian service industry with a focus on North India 2047. We are also going to share the global education and what kind of a future skills would be required globally. How is the Indian education scenario and how the skills would be 2047 and what could be the NRI's contribution towards India. And on third day, we would also be focusing on tourism. Now, market research and consultancy, when we talk about, it's so self-explanatory Because one of the segment, when you're giving the consultancy services, how do you have a services exports under consultancy, and how Indian young, vibrant, the IT professionals and others, those are specialists of their respective areas. Like Kotamarti is the financial services, somebody in the legal services, somebody is in education services, somebody for tourism services, somebody for IT services. So how do you give your consultancy services, and how do you carry out your market research? How do you basically help the organization which is giving you a project of consultancy? How do you do justice with them? What are the metrics? What are the pattern? And what exactly is the objective of the organization which is giving you a task of the consultancy? What do they want to achieve? What are their parameters? What are they interested about? So a lot of strategies and the entire process we have discussed for you over here. And when we talk about research, of course, these services which are being offered over there, how do you collect the data? How do you synthesize the data? How do you utilize the data? Because data is the new oil, ladies and gentlemen, which you got to understand world over. And your plan, your strategy, and your efforts, which brings the solution, what is the way forward? With these words, join me in extending a very hearty welcome to get CA Surya Vijay Sastri Kotamarti all the way from Canada. And we are going to today focus on market research and consultancy services. And of course, we are dealing with the services sector, so we'll go ahead accordingly. Hearty welcome, Sastri Kotamarti, because it's such a pleasure. Last week, you had wonderful deliberations. I was away, and Chitra Kapoor ma'am had wonderful discussion with you and Vikas Malhotra ji. Before that, we had set the agenda, and we are focusing on services sector, and we are taking various segments. Today, let's talk about the consultancy services. How somebody becomes a consultant, how somebody gives consultancy services. What do you think is the professional way of giving consultancy services to someone, and how India can become, basically the source and resource to give the consultancy services abroad? With these words, Vijay Sastri Kotamarti.
Namaskar. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to everyone across the globe, especially good evening to the viewers and listeners in India. Consultancy, as we have discussed, Sharmaji, in the past webinars, is a very wide area of discussion. And I had mentioned that if we break it down by sector, then it could be much more easier for us to analyze sector-wise what are the areas that that we can look into, and how the service industry in India can assist the Canadian companies. When it comes to market research, now, again, that is a part of the consultancy services, but then market research is a very wide definition, and each area of the industry, again, requires the market research. If we are talking about, for instance, the advertising industry, the media. So media in India is very, very big, and the amount of knowledge that they have, and the approach to the media, how they should be spreading the data, how they should be gathering the data, how they should be disseminating the data. All this is something which, of course, compared to India, the media size of Canada is far smaller. Relatively, it is bigger in the US, but still, the media industry, for instance, in India, is very, very big. So I will talk briefly about the media. considering what areas the media can think of, because I know that even your Honhar Peta, Aman is also from the media and is very good at the digital area. And that is something which, we are very good at in India. And those consultancies, because media has built a lot of platforms and way of presenting themselves in the different channels that are there in India. And now there is no restriction on any channel coming over to the Canada. So if the media industry in India, any one of them, there are consultants in the media industry in India who I had visited personally, somebody in Gurgaon long back, couple of years ago, where they spoke to me and gave such fantastic ideas about how they advertising could be them through digital media. So that area of the research, data, there are, I would break actually the consultancy services into two areas. One, where the presence of the individual or the corporation is required physically in Canada, and where their presence is not required. They can still give the consultancy. For instance, last week or the week before, I discussed about the accountancy industry, and I did say that for the bookkeeping, you don't have to be physically present here. There are many chartered accountants. There are many qualified and experienced business processing companies in India who will be able to give that. So I would suggest that when we talk specifically about the service industry in India giving services to Canada, the first thing, because see, this is a very wide subject and each one has their expertise in their respective area. So I would say that everyone knows their area of specialization and their areas of expertise and the extent to which they are able to give the consultant. For instance, in India, there are very many organizations who are big, medium and big size, advising a number of Indian companies itself for the progress. For instance, the market research, if we call the market research in India, each one of them in every sector that they have, they are giving their advice based on their research that they have done for India. And because they have done the research for India, they are able to give the consultancy for India. Now, my suggestion would be that in case you can gather the data for India, within India, of course, you don't, there are times where you may have to travel in order to get the market data. But the globe is a small village right now, and you can tie up. There are very big and medium-sized consulting companies in Canada who are doing the research, market research in different areas. So Indian companies can tie up with the Canadian companies who are into the market research in various sectors, whatever sector their expertise is. That's why I'm saying I would not speak specifically. I will speak eventually about one industry which I know that it is possible and it's being done very well in North America, and people from India can also do. But the advice would be that people who are already into the market research, into consultancy services in India can have a tie-up Like they can identify by this is Google is the one which tells you what are the different type of market research companies that are available in Canada. And I myself can give you a big list if somebody wants, through ICSI. ICSI has been a very big source of information for all the listeners, viewers, and the webinars that we post online are even available for people to go after the webinar also and gain more knowledge. So, that is one area where ICSI can be thoroughly used and taken advantage of by the people who are who are from India trying to give the services. So my advice here would be that let the companies who which are into market research in India look into the consultants who are in Canada, and if they need a gap, a bridge to be done, I'm here, and Vikas is there in the travel industry, and we have, I have access to many other companies also, where we can connect these consultancy research companies to the right company in their area. Because rather than giving a sector by sector detailed thing, which again I'm not sure which specific sector would like to have their foot here in Canada. And Canada is a big market. It's part of the G8, even though the size of the population is small. But the biggest advantage of Canada is it is a gateway to North America as well as the South America. And through these consultants who are here, the consultancy organizations in India can have a tie-up and then grow. I will just give one example, and I'll stop for questions and if you have anything to say, because I have seen that India, for instance, is the biggest pharmaceutical supplier to the world. It is India is the biggest pharmaceutical industry in the world, and we supply to literally all the countries in the world. And pharmaceutical companies need data for them to see which. I'm just giving my thoughts based on that specific industry. For instance, if you would like to know in which province or which city, which particular type of drug is being used, and what is the size of the people that are using it, and what are the companies that are actually supplying this, and what is the share of each one of them. Now, this is a very detailed need, and based on this information, obviously each company means the local companies that are here would obviously like to have that data. And now this data can certainly be accumulated by the organizations in India trying to have local market companies here they can travel locally, they can get the research done for them. And then, because the prices, the terms in which the services can be offered, the experience that is there in India is huge when it comes to these type of, because we are the pharmaceutical producers of the world. So the amount of data that is even within the country, the data research that is being done and that is being supplied, that itself is a huge amount of data that is available for discussions within the pharmaceutical inside India itself. Even though we have large companies, but they themselves employ market research consultancy companies for giving them the data. The reason I have chosen pharmaceutical industry is because it's huge. It is it's some few trillions of dollars of industry, and market research is a part of it. But then your share comes in terms of consultancy for that. So I'll talk about other areas of consultancy also, but I wanted to say that we should divide the consultancy and market research into two areas. One which can be performed from India, so that the need for traveling to Canada or be having a presence in Canada is not required, and can be done by doing it from India itself. And the other one is for those people who want to migrate to Canada, because individuals and corporations, big corporations who want to set up their companies in India, they can then they can ask us how to come over here, how to have their presence, especially those who are migrating to Canada for employment. Each one of them has huge potential in each area. So they should come prepared with doing some sort of their own research as to which area they are working in and what is the scope for that particular job in Canada. And if they need, there are companies which can give them the advice, and those are the local market companies. So we have to break the consultancy within those consultancy that can be given from India, and the consultancy what someone can do after coming here. So that is how I would break it down into two.
Wonderful, wonderful inputs. Thank you very much for that complete insight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me recapitulate once again, and I wish to share with all of you. There are mainly, when you carry out the services sector, because the economy is three parts: agriculture, manufacturing, and services. There are between 54 to 56 segments of services components. However, agriculture also requires after produce services. Manufacturing also requires services after produce. But I'm talking about per se pure services sector. When I talk about, there are 54, 56 areas which have been identified from time to time. And way back earlier, the Planning Commission of India and now the Niti Aayog, we gave a lot of concept papers on that. Now, out of those 54, 56 areas, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India has identified 12 champion sectors. Now, those 12 champion sectors have been given in February 2018. It's on the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India's web portal. You can also see it on ICSI's web portal. If you come to icsiindia.in, you can see it there as well. Now, what is our focus? Our focus is services exports from India. We have talked about, and few days back, if you have heard, the Honorable External Affairs Minister of India, S. Jaishankarji, he also made a mention that we are focusing now on education services exports. And we had the foreign minister from Germany. She had come all the way, and there were deliberations. Germany needs a lot of manpower. And if you recall, when the Honorable Prime Minister had gone to Japan earlier, and thereafter the present Education Minister and Skill Minister, Dharmendra Pradhanji, had gone over there, Japan also needs the young generation from India to be going to Japan and be a part of their system. Similar way, world over population is aging, and India can fill the gap at many places. We got to see now, wherever you are, whosoever you are, whatsoever business you are in, you should identify and see how you can be a part of this entire process. Now, something very interesting Kotamarti ji has given, and he gave a wonderful example of the pharma also. India being the global, the capital as far as the manufacturing of the medicines and providing and producing and supplying to the world over is concerned. At the same time, he also gave an example in the accountancy that one need not to move physically over there, but there are provision. There can be a services exports in the financial sector when you are physically in India, but digitally you are in the country where you're giving those kind of services. And also he had been very kind. to tell us that there are large number of companies. Those are located in Canada with whom you can collaborate, you can synergize, and you can take your business to the next level. I would request our audience, those are joining us on the YouTube, if you have got any specific questions which you would like to take on today, because we are talking about consultancy services. We have also touched about the market research. He has also given you the input on to secondary data, primary data, physical collection of data, and all those things. And then, of course, synthesizing the data and everything. Let me see what Julie ma'am is writing over here. Exploratory market research is generally preferred in the early stages of the project when we are interested in exploring a subject. Views of Kotamarti ji.
Sure. When we are exploring something new, certainly a lot of knowledge is required, because then that is something which has not been in existence for a while. And she's absolutely right by saying that until and unless we do the right research and have the sufficient information about the putting it into force, it will not be possible, because the viability is one of the most important things. And market research actually is a very important part of the financial viability, as well as the physical and economic viability of any project. And so viability is a very wide subject again, and each one of them is equally important. The financial viability is important, the physical viability is important, as well as the economic viability is also important, because how are you going to fund the project? What is the various types of fundings that are available? That comes from the financial viability and the profitability, whether that is sufficient to generate, and what will be the break-even points. So this data is important for you when you are coming out with a new product into the market. So market research is very important. I mean, when it comes to starting something new. But in case you have you are coming in with an existing product, then rather than spinning the wheel again, Julie ma'am, I would say that we can take the assistance of companies who already have done their research and are assisting and have the data, which will be much easier for somebody to just spend some money and get the thing and save some time, rather than again trying to find out how to get this data.
Excellent. Thank you. Vidhi Jaiswal ma'am, she has got a specific question. There must be many Canadian companies. Those are interested to have some market research for their product and services to be done in India. There might be some Canadian companies who are interested to do their products and services, market research being done in India. How do we identify such companies who are interested to do some work in India?
Okay. See, market itself is the knowledge of which is always local. So India, those people who are into the consultancy or into the manufacturing or into the agriculture industry, who are in India, and if they want the not only Canadian companies, any global company coming into their world, they should have the data available locally, that is in India, what is the advantages that you have, what is the type of market research that they have done for that specific product or that specific service, and how they can share that. There are many organizations across every country, including Canada. If to give an example, if somebody wants to manufacture a simple product like tomato ketchup, a big company from Canada called Heinz, one of my close friends, who is the CEO of that company, has come over to India. They came to India because there is a huge demand, and there is requirement, and they would have collaborated with the local consultants, as well as found out from which area it is good to manufacture, what are the subsidies that are available, and each state is doing quite a wide amount of knowledge sharing, which I recently, the UP government had brought a delegation here, and I really liked the way they told everything. So uh, that is another way of the governments coming into the country and spreading their what can be offered to the people who are in this part of the world. So when delegations come, like the UP ministry, when they came here, the High Commission of India, the Consulate General of India, we as Canada India Foundation, a number of us had organized that delegation, and many consultants, many manufacturers, all the different service industries, all of them had come together here to listen to those people from the delegation as to what are the areas in which they can do. So that is one way of the government, at the government level, doing it, which they are already doing it. But if some individual wants to do it, even at their level, they can always see what are the areas of interest that they have people to come in. And then specifically, they can either collaborate with the Canadian consultants, or they themselves can take the help of ICSI, which I am considering as the bridge that should be, because you have been ICSI has been in the being for more than 30 plus years, and you have a wealth of knowledge, and I think that should be the home page for for most of the consultants and everybody in India. And then we are the bridging gap here. We can do together, we can explore that and definitely do.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kotamarti ji. I think it was a short, crisp, to the point, 31 minutes deliberation, something very interesting. Rest we can take on next week, because as you made a mention, because consultancy being such a big canvas, and each segment of the services sector, let's take it separately. We will take on this deliberation further. We will try and bring in specific sectors, and we will work out accordingly. Meanwhile, if something new emerges for the next week, we would certainly share with you. That's what I wish to convey.
I just Please. Have one suggestion, Sharma ji.
Sure,
you had mentioned that 12 specific areas have been identified by the ministry, and because they have already been identified, if we can select each one by one and have them for 12 weeks, I think that will be a detailed discussion, and that will be supplementing the ministry's vision, as well as obviously they would have done a huge market research before putting these 12 into one place. So that will be a best way of our approaching the consultancy areas. So that's my suggestion. If you think that that's good, select one and let me know what we will be doing next week, and we will go, and you can inform the listeners and viewers about it, so that they can that specific industry can be more interested and listen to it next.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And we wish to share that our chamber was the part when those 12 sectors were identified by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And Honorable Prime Minister finally gave the sanction of 5,000 crores for those 12 champion sectors. And that money was allocated to those respective ministries. So there is a wider scope. And I'm pretty sure that some of the people can generate, the sizable business for their organizations out of those 12 segments from different ministries to which they belong to.
So can I just suggest something more than
Sure,
if
sure.
the government has already allocated some money for each sector, for those 12, and there's a substantial amount that they have done. Certainly, the government will come forward to assisting those sectors based on the amounts allocated to that specific consultancy area. So, if while we are discussing specifically if it is okay and if it's not coming into the way of the open discussion about the amount allocated for that specific consultancy area, if we can talk that also, that will give the local Indian consultancy firms and everybody in India that they have the support of the government, and they can, and you are the best person to tell how to make take the advantage of that, and the whole purpose of giving all this by the government is to make sure that people make the best use of it and do the export of services, right?
Thank you very much. On that positive note, we look forward meeting next Sunday again at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful day, the weekdays ahead. Enjoy yourself. And people, those are in Canada, you've got a beautiful Sunday because it's just the beginning of the day. Enjoy yourself. A wonderful, what is the temperature, Kotamarti ji?
Oh, today it's -6 right now.
-6.
We had snow. Last couple of days, and
Okay.
I mean, I usually don't tell the wind chill, because if I tell the wind chill again, it goes more. It will become -12, -13. So
Okay.
just the temperature itself is
Thank
like
you.
that.
Thank you. Regards to your family. Thank you very much. And
Yes,